Happy Friday. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm just going to wait a second. I know there's a lot of light behind me. Hi, Connie. I hope your day is going well. All right. Happy Friday. I'm a little out of sorts. My very close friends from high school, mom passed away yesterday, and so I've been the one kind of contacting all of our mutual friends, and it's so surreal, becoming way too close to home. So I've been very distracted today, but I have a lot to talk about. So I'm going to get right to it. Let's start with a win. Who has a win to share for today? Oh, and I want to do something. I want to put my name up here if you're watching on Facebook and YouTube and all the fancy stuff. So who has a win today? Give it to me. My win is that my flower pots just got planted and I've been gardening and clearing out weeds and vines from my backyard, and the sun is shining. And it makes me feel really good. I don't know about you, but if you live somewhere where there's seasons and it's been really cloudy and dreary, it makes you so depressed. It makes me so depressed. So I'm happy the sun's out. Do you have a win today to share? I would love to hear it. Come on, somebody share a win with me. I need some love. All right. Well, hopefully you'll share as we continue to talk. I got a lot to talk about today. And let's start with relationships within open adoption. Okay. So open adoption is kind of going to be the theme today with a lot of the things that have kind of come up in conversation. So if you've just joining me for the first time, I'm Becca Gruenspan. I'm the founder and CEO of RG Adoption Consulting. We work only with hopeful adoptive parents. So every week I come on having asked my team, okay, what are people asking about, or what are people posting about on social media? So a lot around open adoption has been coming up. So I want to start with yearly visits. So this is something that's becoming more and more prevalent in adoption, where expectant mamas, when they are looking for the families they're looking for, are asking for yearly visits. Or it is becoming more common with agencies to require a family to be open to yearly visits. And I never thought too much about it. I was like, yes, that's great. I have a very open adoption. In fact, if you go on my IG, you'll see I finally posted from my spring break a surprise trip that I took my son on to visit and meet his bio family on his dad's side for the first time. And I just posted a reel on IG. So go check it out. But yearly visits does not sound like a horrible, something that's so out of the realm, right? So something that would be so difficult. And I think that it all depends on the wording of these communication contracts and agreements that you sign, right? There's a lot of things around yearly visits. One is it really realistic? I have a completely open adoption. I have no problem with visits. I live very far from both sides of my son's family. It not only is very expensive, but also I'm also trying to plan a family vacation at least once a year. And sometimes it just feels so overwhelming to even think about having to do a visit or having to go to a certain place every single year. Also, maybe the birth mom isn't ready for it or doesn't want it in a particular year. A client of mine brought up a really good point. She's like, you know, when I sign something, my word is gold. It is a commitment, especially if it's a legal document. What happens if I sign this thing that says I'm open to yearly visits, and for whatever reason that can't happen, and my child then sees that paperwork one day and realizes it didn't happen? No matter what, we're going to be to blame for it, right? So I just think it's a little bit more complicated than it had seemed to me for years until I kind of had this conversation with the client. So um, it just brought up a different perspective. And I think you just have to be careful about what you're committing to and what you're signing and make sure that you can really do it. And if not, maybe tweak the language a little bit. I think that visits are amazing and being fully open are amazing. I just also want to be very realistic. And if anybody has anything to say, I would love to hear it. Amy asked, how do you get started with RG Adoption Consulting? Amy, I am going to post, I don't know if anybody from my team is on, RG Adoption Consulting. .com. If you go to our website, which I just posted, I think you'll be able to see it. You can watch a video on that website and it'll kind of guide you. You can set up a consultation. So what's an example of wording variations in the contract agreement? Rebecca Mendations. I love that. That's so great. You know what? I don't even know. I don't know. I haven't sat too long with this, but perhaps it's something around yearly accommodations to make. Yearly visits will be there will be accommodations for yearly visits when it's agreeable for both sides, or maybe there's yearly visits with the exceptions of, I don't know. I haven't really thought through exact language, but I just want you to think about that. Think about, yes, we are open to yearly visits. And I understand that maybe sometimes this can't happen. So maybe we can put something around exceptions, or if it can't happen, we will make every effort to connect via, I don't know, but just kind of start thinking about that. You're welcome, Amy. Okay. Oh, I see somebody from my team popped in there too. Okay. Another thing, Facebook, social media friends or not? Is it a good thing? Perhaps it is. Perhaps you're not ready for that right off the bat, and maybe it will develop into a comfortable, trusting relationship down the road where you're okay with your child's birth parents watching you on social media. It also depends on how much you post and how open you are and what you're sharing. Remember that one thing about social media, and again, maybe this is where we set some boundaries to begin with, is would you be okay if they took one of the pictures that you shared of your child and posted it on their page or sent it to their friends? Maybe that is okay for some. And maybe that's not okay if it's maybe a dangerous situation, or where a birth parent is an addict, or, what does her page look like? These are just some things you want to think about, but maybe you don't want to say no to it. So can you set up some privacy restrictions? Can you set up, that they can only see certain things? Can you set up something where it's just a private page for the two of you, where you can just send to each other? There are all sorts of things that you need to think through to think about how to set up, what's the word I'm looking for? How to set up, I'm having a moment where boundaries. how to set up boundaries. So think about that and make sure you have whatever privacy restrictions that you would like on your page. Speaking of social media, if you are matching on your own, which is not my expertise at all, how can you protect yourself? Sometimes we have clients that do match on their own through different, if they're big on social media or whatever. And if somebody's contacting you through social media, how can you protect yourself? Again, make sure that you have the right privacy restrictions on your accounts. Also, make sure that, maybe you set up a Google Voice number to have available for those situations. Eventually, after getting to know an expectant mama, you're going to want to let them know that we need to work through an agency or an attorney. Eventually, an attorney. If they're not willing to do that, that's usually a sign that it could be a scammer. So you can let them know, well, I believe that's the next legal step. So I'm uncomfortable continuing the conversation until we can go through the correct channels. So just a couple things to think about. Okay, now let's take it a step further. Now you are matched. Okay, and I know there's some people on here who are matched. Now you're matched, and bonding with your expectant mama, especially if you know it's going to be an open relationship, is really important. We recently had a birth mom speak with our client community. She's also a therapist, and she was saying that they actually had a joint baby shower and went shopping for maternity clothes. And at first I was like, a joint baby shower? Like, whose idea was that? And she really wanted to celebrate this child. The birth mom did, the expectant mama. She wanted to celebrate this child because she knew this child deserved a celebration. And she also knew that it wasn't just her celebration, that there was this woman that she was choosing to mother, and she was very firm on her decision. Okay, Rebecca. Love it. She was very firm on her decision. And so she asked her, would you be willing to do this with me? And it was a beautiful thing. I don't know. It's just something I wouldn't have thought about, but how cool. And another thing is, if you are together, why not go maternity shopping together? You still want to look and feel good. And women love new clothes. So I thought that was a really cool idea that I had never thought about. All right. Now let's take it yet another step further. Advocating for your expectant mom or your birth mom. So is she going to be receiving, or at least being offered to receive, post-adoption support from her caseworker or agency that she is working with? I am going to challenge you, if and when you get matched, to ask your caseworker, what kind of support does she receive after placement? Because I'll tell you, that is probably one of the most difficult periods in her life, is after she has handed her baby over to somebody else and her body is raging out of control. She's going to go through ups and downs for a long period of time. And so how long is support available to her? So I would ask that. Sometimes I know agencies that say they can come at any time for the rest of their lives. And I also want you to know, as an adoptive parent or a hopeful parent, there are support groups for birth moms. There's one called the Ohana Project that I'm familiar with, that they're all open to any birth mom. On Your Feet Foundation is another one. And so if you see that she is struggling, you can certainly, depending on your relationship, offer her to connect her with one of these groups. And I thought this was really cool. We were talking with Jacqueline, this birth mother that spoke with us. You know, if there's one thing that every single person wants and needs, it's being acknowledged, being seen, being validated. And so one of the things, and there's a lot of different power shifts in adoption. And one of the things a birth mother is most scared about, especially if they've asked for openness, is that you are going to go away after she hands you her baby. That she is not going to hear from you again, or that she may never see her baby. And at the same time, right after you leave the hospital and bring your baby home, you want to be in your bubble. And you want for just a moment to just be thinking about you and your baby and celebrating and with your family. And yet here is this birth mom who's going through one of the most traumatic periods of her life. And so she might be texting you 10 times a day, or want to be talking to you twice a day, or wondering, I texted her, why aren't they texting me back? So what if, and again, every scenario is different, but what if at the hospital, you talk about that? You acknowledge how she might be feeling once they leave the hospital and promise her what you can promise her. I imagine, we're sitting here really close talking every day, and it's this beautiful relationship. And I imagine once we go our separate ways and leave, that it could be difficult for you, that it most likely will be very difficult for you. And that you might be wondering what we're up to and how the baby is. And I promise you, because we are also going to be going through our own stuff, being new parents and wanting to celebrate that. I promise you that if you reach out, I will always respond, even though it's not right away. Or I promise you that you will hear from me at least once a day for the next few weeks after we leave the hospital, just to reassure her that you are seeing her, that you are validating the way she might be feeling, and that you are not just leaving her high and dry, that she will be seen. And one of the things I promised my son's birth mom from the beginning, I promised her that she would always have contact with me no matter what. And at a certain age, when my son was able to make decisions for himself, that we had to, what's the word I'm looking for again? I'm having a really hard time today. Respect where he was coming from, but that she would always have contact with me. So just some things to think about as you're going through this process and thinking about openness and thinking about relationships and boundaries and validation and power shifts, all the things. I hope this gave you some food for thought. Michael, I know, congratulations. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. If you are on the adoption roadmap and you should veer off for whatever reason, don't lose hope. Come back on, work the steps, surround yourself with your tribe, and you can do this. I'm excited for each and every one of you, no matter where you are on your journey. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend and enjoy the sunshine if you've got it. And I sure hope you do, because it makes things much better. Bye.